Hi, I'm Shane from Shanesmithlaw. Today I'm here to talk about our weekly case review. One of our attorneys from Shanesmithlaw is here with us, Ashley Clasen. We're going to talk about one of our recently settled cases where she helped one of our clients out VR. So Ashley, tell me about VR. What happened and what brought them to the firm?
So VR is 29 years old, and then last January gets into an accident. He was driving westbound, and a car driving eastbound decided to try and make a left-hand turn, made it far too late, not enough time. Our client didn't even have time to respond, ends up getting hit on his driver's side pretty hard, gets taken by EMS to the hospital, complaining a lot of ear pain, head pain, chest pain. The headaches don't go away. The pain in his head between his jaw and his ear don't dissolve. And his back's pretty bad too. So he comes to us unsure what to do. We get him in with a chiropractor first. That's usually a really good first line of defense for neck and back injuries. And then, if that doesn't resolve within the first couple of weeks, or at least show significant improvement, it's really smart to get back in with the doctor. In this case, we kind of sent him in a little bit sooner because head injuries are scary. And with the headaches, with the earaches, there's some signs of a head injury, but here was a little different. It wasn't all signs of head injury, and it turns out it was his jaw. The joint that attaches your jawbone to your skull, he's having issues with. Goes through treatment for a couple of months. We finally got everything under the control, but it took 14 separate injections between his back and the side of his jaw to get him to a point where he's pain-free.
Wow.
Pretty extensive treatment, but we did get him to a point of being pain-free. The downside is TMJ typically is a long-term issue. There are some studies that suggest that it's something that's curable. There's others that say no, it's going to act back up over time. It changes the way you chew. It changes the alignment in your mouth. So, a bite taken the wrong way could kind of trigger him to go back to where he was at square one and needing treatment all over again. So unfortunately, it is going to be an issue that he's likely going to be dealing with the rest of his life.
How'd you identify the TMJ? Because, when I look at most car accidents, I don't immediately think hurt the jaw.
Yeah, it's different.
What brought it to your attention where you were like, he needs this particular type of care?
So part of it was something that was possibly identified at the hospital. And while the client didn't exactly know what it was, he was trying to relay the information and let us know that the doctor kept saying something about his jaw. So between his jaw really hurting and his ear hurting, those are pretty classic signs of TMJ, excuse me.
Okay.
So that kind of pulled our direction differently. And then you start asking him about other brain injury questions. Is your vision blurry? Stuff that's going to do more so with lightheadedness, eyesight, that his jaw's not going to affect to differentiate the two.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you were able to separate the two out and get him the right care if we got him pain-free.
Yeah. Fortunately, now he's pain-free, and hopefully it stays that way for a relatively good period of time. I know TMJ flare-ups can be pretty bad.
So after dealing with his injuries and getting him back to where he needed to be, basically back to normal, how did the insurance company or the fight with them go? Was it a long drawn out fight? How did they respond to the TMJ? Tell me about that.
Fortunately, it was pretty smooth. They recognized it. And I think the consistency throughout his medical records helped. It wasn't something that popped up later that they could be skeptical of. From the get-go, he was complaining of his jaw and his ear. And he went through some conservative treatment that failed. So it was kind of hard to argue taking more invasive actions like these 14 injections when conservative treatment's failing. So fortunately, we asked for the full policy, and 3 weeks later we had it, which was really nice.
So it sounds like you must have been able to document his injuries, go through the medical records, link all of that to the accident, and present a great demand to the insurance company to get him to pay the policy limits that quick.
Yeah, it was right off the bat, which was really nice.
And how did the client feel about the settlement overall?
Decent. I think here, and this happens sometimes, his medical bills were so high that even with a $50,000 policy, there's not as much that the client would like to see given what they went through. I will say that we're actually still searching for some more insurance. We haven't totally closed out this file yet.
If there is more insurance out there anywhere, we'll find it. I know we always fight as hard as we can to find as many policies as we can, because that's more of a recovery for our clients. Overall, sounds like a great job on the case, getting the maximum policy limits for the client. Is there anything in particular from this case that you think you'll be able to use to help your clients in the future?
learning a lot more about TMJ and how to identify it, and it's going to help separate it in the future. Not that it's something we see frequently, but it's really important to be able to identify it when it does present.
All right. No, it sounds like it. And I think you're right. If you can identify it on cases where it actually occurs, you're going to be able to get a great recovery for your clients. Thanks for listening, listeners. Remember, if you're in pain, call Shane, 980-999-9999, or you can order a free book, The Victim Survival Guide to Car Accidents, at shanesmithlaw.com. We'll be going over another case next week. Hope to see you there. And thanks for talking to us today, Ashley.
Thank you.
980-999-9999. 980-999-9999. Shanesmithlaw. In pain, call Shane.